The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Dedicated to empowering you with information,
to make positive choices,
and be advocates for your overall well-being.
Welcome to The Health View.
Welcome to The Health View. I'm Yvonne Dunnetz, and my guest today is Mike Athelberg, President of the Greater Nashua United Way. Mike, we're very interested in having you here today because our topic is to learn all about the United Way and the difference that you make for our community. Not just the Greater Nashua community, but the United Way is an organization that is in every state within the United States, is it not?
Actually, it's in about 70 countries as well. United Way is actually a global organization.
It is, and its mission.
So United Way has a singular mission globally, including in the United States, to fight for the health, education, and financial stability of every person in every community. What's interesting, I think, about that is what every community needs in those areas of health, education, and financial stability is different. So that's, I think, one of the great strengths of United Way is that even though we are all over the place, we're really very local. And people sometimes don't realize that United Way is actually an organization made up of many, many, many smaller organizations.
And what type of services do you provide?
Well, we do a lot of different things. What people know United Way for typically is to be a primary funder in the community. And we do that. But we do that through a very systematic process. So part of our value add in the community is to pull together a needs assessment that covers all areas of the community, not just a focus on education or health or financial stability, but all of the above. And then through that process, then we will identify what the greatest needs are in the community and target funding and programs toward those needs, as opposed to sort of more of a scattergun kind of a unplanned, non-systematic approach.
So what types of organizations do you support?
Well, we support through funding. We currently have about 16 different nonprofits that receive direct funding from United Way. Some of those are big organizations that pretty much everybody's heard of, like Boys and Girls Club or Girls Incorporated. Within Nashua, of course, we have like the Adult Learning Center that most people have heard of, but there are a lot of smaller organizations as well. The Greater Nashua Dental Connection is a good example of a nonprofit. Bridges is another example where many people have not heard of their services, but they're part of that network. What I would say, though, is beyond funding 16 nonprofits, we actually fund programs, not agencies. So each of those agencies, some of them have 3 or 4 different programs that have received support, and the support they receive can only be used within those programs. And we think that that's really an effective approach to targeting your community investments.
So what they're doing is they're filling out a grant request for funding to you, and then you have a system in place of who you would support in order to fulfill your mission.
Well, we don't really have any sort of a preferred vendor list, if you will. You know, our process is open to every nonprofit. We do every 3 years. We open the process up. Our grants are for 3 years. That makes us very unusual. Most grant-making organizations have just 1-year funding. Ours are for 3 years. We feel that that's important. One of the things I always say is, you know, I abhor the idea of our executive directors locally spending time every single year to apply for a grant. That's just a time waste. They have much more important things to do, like focusing on the work that needs to get done. But also we do know that the world doesn't change in a year. So it is open to everybody. Next year is actually our grant making year, and we're going to open it back up to the community of nonprofits to make applications.
What are you most proud of?
Well, you know, in about a year we'll be 90 years old. And we were founded in 1930 in the middle of the Great Depression. I am very proud to be part of an organization that 90 years later is still finding new and creative ways to be relevant. I think that's important. Nonprofits sometimes drift from their mission, they drift from their origins. We've stayed pretty true to how we approach community level impact. Of course, our processes have changed and our focus has changed over the years, and that's based on community needs. In the Great Depression, we didn't have the opioid crisis. We do today. Our process has led us to focus on different areas, but all around basic human services. So I'm proud that we're relevant after 90 years. I am also very, very proud of the fact that we're considered a very highly rated nonprofit. We pride ourselves in being transparent and fiscally responsible. And that's very important for our donors to know that we steward the resources that are granted to us in a very responsible way.
So as a funding source that provides support to many different organizations that directly deliver services within the greater Nashua community, what would you want your donors to know about it? Because that's what helps you thrive to be able to do what you do.
Yeah, what I would always want our donors to know is that it takes a village of nonprofits to solve problems. It takes a community effort. There's no single nonprofit out there, no matter how big they are, that's going to solve all the problems. And one of the examples I like to give is, the example of somebody who likes to donate to a specific nonprofit that maybe helps children. And there's nothing wrong with that. People should always support things that tug at their heartstrings and that they feel are important to them. But it is also important to understand that individuals and families have complex needs, and those needs oftentimes go beyond the borders of what any given organization does. That child might need an after-school program, and that organization might provide it. But the child might also need to go to the dentist, and that program doesn't provide that. That child's parents might also need help with a kindergarten or preschool program for the younger sibling, or maybe they have somebody living at home who has developmental disabilities and needs an adult day program, or maybe there's a grandparent in the family who lives alone and needs support of Meals on Wheels. These are the kind of complexities that enter into a family's life. So I would tell a donor, as I always tell donors, try to think more globally about human needs than just that one-off, because sometimes it's not as effective as people would want.
So besides the financial support, do you also need volunteer support?
Oh yeah, we are an organization, Dunkin' Donuts, America runs on Dunkin' Donuts, we run on volunteers. We're an organization that does most of our work actually through volunteers. We have a very small paid staff. There are really just 3 of us on staff, and one of those people who was recently hired, her entire job is to recruit, manage, train, develop volunteers, because we get work done through volunteers.
And how do those volunteers help you? In what ways?
So many different ways. We have volunteers that help us with fundraising. We have volunteers that help us with keeping our building maintained. We have volunteers that help us to get out into the community and build gardens. We have volunteers that participate in our days of caring. There are so many different ways in which volunteers get involved. We have a number of different organizations that we support. For example, the Prevention Coalition is part of United Way. One Greater Nashua is associated with United Way. Grow Nashua is part of United Way. These organizations also rely on volunteers. So we consider that also part of our volunteer base.
Can you tell us a little bit about One Greater Nashua?
Yeah, absolutely. One of our points of pride is One Greater Nashua. It's a community coalition. It includes partners such as the Chamber of Commerce, the Public Library, the Adult Learning Center, the Community College, who have all come together to support, some people might call it an immigrant integration initiative. It's really not that. It's really a health equity initiative. It was started out of the premise that, under the social determinants of health, somewhere between 40 and 50% of a person's health outcomes have nothing to do with insurance and medications and going to the doctor and genetics. It has to do with the social milieu. Right. It has to do with who do you know? Who do you talk with on a regular basis? How are you connected to the community? And so One Greater Nashua is an approach to embracing newcomers in our community so that they get connected quickly, so that they learn their environment, and they can become productive members of the Nashua community effectively and quickly, so that they don't fall into that trap of becoming ill or unhealthy because they're not connected.
How do you do that?
Well, we have a couple of different approaches. One of our most successful approaches is a group of volunteers called the Nashua Navigators. It's a group of volunteers from all over the world, including the United States, who have been trained to help newcomers to get acclimated. They're not really social workers, but they will definitely, let's say somebody comes here as a refugee from the Congo, we're going to connect that person and their family to our navigators, who are going to tell them, hey, the Adult Learning Center is the place where you can go to learn English as a second language. And you can go to the City Hall to register your vehicle, and you go down to the registry to get your driver's license, and there's the public library where you can learn about what's available and even get online for free. Those are the kinds of things that people need to get connected, but also to make them part of our community.
It's a wonderful way to welcome them and feel that people really want them to be here, want them to be successfully living here and thrive in the community.
It is. It's kind of the international welcome wagon.
I think that's phenomenal.
I think it is as well.
So if people wanted to learn more about the United Way, what would the website be?
Well, our website is unitedwaynashua.org. I would also say a great way to just stay in touch and learn what we're doing. We have a super active Facebook presence. That's United Way GN. You can also follow us on Twitter, also United Way GN, and we also have a YouTube presence. All of those are pretty active, actually. Also United Way GN. And
to volunteer, is there a specific person that they should go to?
Yeah,
for it?
So the two answers on volunteering. One is, yes, they can contact Sarah. Sarah Caesar is our Director of Volunteer and Community Engagement. But also something that we're very proud of is about a year ago, in partnership with the Telegraph, we launched a new community-wide website which is a portal for volunteering, and it's called volunteergreaternashua.org. I'm not very clever in how we name our website. So volunteergreaternashua.org, and a person can go into that website and can see all of the different organizations that have posted volunteer opportunities, not just United Way, but
clear across the city?
Clear across the region.
Excellent.
Any nonprofit can post their opportunities. Any person can sign up right there.
Wonderful.
We think of this as a great way to really engage and connect people.
Could you say that website again, please?
Yes, it's volunteergreaternashua.org.
And so they get right into that, and they can see in a kind of a global sense, across the state, all the different volunteer opportunities?
Yeah, not really across the state,
Okay.
across the Greater Nashua region.
Excellent.
The state has actually a web portal also called Volunteer New Hampshire,
Right.
which is very similar.
Okay.
But we like our portal because people volunteer locally. They don't, if you're from Hudson, you don't think of volunteering going to a website that's called Volunteer New Hampshire, but you will go somewhere called Volunteer Greater Nashua.
And if they had questions to learn more about it, is there a particular number that they could call?
You can always, I never remember our main number. That's such a great question. But I remember my number.
Okay.
So anybody wants to can always call me at 603-864-0202. That is also on our website, is our number as well. But when you call United Way, if you want to talk to me, we're a small organization. I love talking with people from the public. Ask for Mike or ask for the guy. Both of those inquiries will get you to me.
And if someone was interested in donating, how might they go about it?
Well, you can donate online.
Okay.
You can find that from our website as well. Of course, we take all the credit cards, and you can even set up a donation so it's periodic, so monthly or weekly or one time. You can always send us a check or cash. You can also volunteer. You can also donate through your workplace. A lot of workplaces have what we call campaigns where people give through payroll deduction.
And what about estate planning?
Well, that's a good question. We actually had a seminar this morning that we put together about planned giving. And we're going to be doing that again. We've put together a great panel of experts to do that. But on our website is also some information in the donor section where you can learn a little bit more about planned giving as well.
Wonderful. So again, the website is?
Our website is unitedwaynashua.org.
And if people are interested in volunteering, that website
That's
is?
volunteergreaternashua.org.
And if they wanted to reach you directly to ask any questions or to get further information, they would call you at?
Yeah, 864-0202. And I would also say, anybody who's in need of services, that's okay to call me. More often than not, I'm also going to refer people to 211.
211.
So the 211 statewide telephone number is also the place to connect to services.
Well, thank you for everything that you do to make Nashua great and to serve our public in the best way possible. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Yvonne. I appreciate it as well.
Thank you.
Since 1930, United Way of Greater Nashua has been your trusted partner to fight for the health, education, and financial stability of every person in every community. When a low-income child needs access to dental care, or parents need quality after-school programs where their kids can learn and be safe, United Way is there. When a person with disabilities needs a supportive day program where they can thrive, or a family loses its home and needs a place to regain financial stability, United Way is there. When a homebound senior needs food and supportive social connections, or when it comes time to die with dignity, United Way is there. The programs supported by your United Way are the heart and soul of Greater Nashua. When you volunteer or donate to United Way, you lift up the community where you live and you work. As a highly regarded nonprofit with Charity Navigator and GuideStar, you can be sure that your donations will be used for the work of making Greater Nashua stronger, smarter, and safer. Learn more and connect with us at unitedwaynashua.org.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.